Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So, did it finally happen? Did we finally fill that nasty and annoying and stupid CME gap that I was complaining about last night? Well, apparently it looks like we have. So, I'm going to talk about what happened. Is the scariness over? And also, is it the real reason why we are rallying today? As you can see, Bitcoin is back to almost 85,000. Last night, we were down to 78,000. That is nearly an 8,000 point recovery. Does that mean it's over? We are now in full blown recovery mode. Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about everything. First of all, I'm just going to jump right in. Obviously, last night was scary. Asia was selling off. And I do believe when Europe opened up, Europe actually started buying. But the big thing is, did we fill that nasty CME gap? That's the question, because if you look at how far Bitcoin went down yesterday, we didn't actually go into the 77s. We went down as low as 78.1, 78.2. But the gap is actually at 77.8, 77.9. So we're like technically like $300 away, but that could be just a rounding error. I don't know. But all the reports said that the CME gap was right around 77.8, 77.9. So technically speaking, last night we did not fill that gap. We did not hit it exactly. We were just a few $100s off. But looking at today's price action, it definitely seems like we did fill it and we are definitely rallying up because look at it. We're back to 85. This is a much, much healthier level than than last night. But quite honestly, what happened last night, that was just one day. It was actually basically the 27th. We were at this level and then we came down and then we did this. So technically speaking, if you zoom out, you'll realize it's just a V-shaped recovery, right? But that nasty gap, that's the question mark. It does seem like it has been filled. Today, what's also helping is this. The US market is in the green. We had many, many, many days of outflows and red. So today, Wall Street being in green definitely helps. And partially is because the core inflation number I've been talking about came in as expected, was not worse than expected. And Trump said, hey, maybe all this tariff scariness, right? Maybe it could be avoided. That the US and UK can reach a deal without, having goods taxed with tariffs, right? So today, overall, pretty good day. Probably the reason why there's not more sell pressure on Bitcoin. So that also helps, right? So that could be one of the reasons why, actually, one of the big reasons why we are rallying upwards. The ETS, I've been talking about it. I just hate the fact that, Wall Street is so reactionary, reactive about any tariff news and selling off. You could see 8 days equaling 3.2 billion in outflow. And even yesterday, even though things slowed down, yesterday we still had $276 million worth of outflows. But you could see all that red, and this is all due to tariffs, all due to Wall Street afraid of tariffs. That's it, right? But I told you guys, we have seen periods like this before, okay? And they get very scary, they get nasty, and very aggravating. But they're distractions. We will get through it. And in most cases, when these people sell and panic sell, they will buy back at a higher price. And there are a ton of people that are selling right now. Okay. Wall Street included. But man, if you look at, like, for example, our just like from a technical standpoint, Bitcoin is so oversold. We haven't seen this kind of oversoldness since September, no, August of 2023, not 2024, 2023, when Bitcoin was at 25K. That shows you how oversold we are. We haven't seen this kind of oversold level since Bitcoin at 25K, not even at 49K, at 25K. And look at this profit loss margin on traders minus 18.86%, the biggest loss margin since the FTX collapse of 2022. So definitely a lot of whale games, manipulation, panic selling, ton of panic selling from Wall Street and retail alike. Okay, but hey, just like before, just like 2022, just like 2023, just like 2024, we got through it. We got through it, right? Especially if we did fill the CME gap. According to this article and several other articles, they believe, the authors and analysts believe that we have filled that CME gap. Although I argue we're like 200, 300 points away. But again, that could just be a rounding error when CME actually closed or something. Maybe there's, a few hundred points where it wasn't calculated right or something. But if it was filled, then finally we can not worry about that. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? When people concentrate on it and they think that it has to hit, then people stop buying and then they just like keep waiting and waiting and waiting and maybe shorting and waiting, So fingers crossed that it has been filled and we are moving forward, right? And with all the oversold levels and everything, man, this is the time to be loading up. This is the time to be in the game. Even Sailor last night feeling a little uneasy. I know a lot of people thinking about Sailor, thinking about what happens if Bitcoin keeps going down, if he's gonna get liquidated. He has said in the past in interviews, even if Bitcoin went to zero, he can't be liquidated and he would just buy up all the Bitcoin. Right? Whether that's true, I don't know. I don't think anyone knows. But even he was feeling a little uneasy yesterday. He tweeted us out, sell a kidney if you must, but keep the Bitcoin. But good thing is today not only is Bitcoin recovering, but a lot of the alts recovered to their pre-crash levels from yesterday. So it's not just Bitcoin. A lot of people decided to DCA and load up, and that's the right move when you have these huge dips. The only two things you could do, well, three things. Number one is you can panic sell, which normally speaking does not end well, although sometimes it does, but in most cases it doesn't. Or the smarter choice would be to just hodl. And the other choice, which is probably smarter, is holding and DCAing, but it really depends on if you have dry powder, right? But hey, like I've been saying, we have seen a lot of these scary times before. And if you look out throughout the years, we had many, 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 many. And then, you know what? We always move past it. Yes, that's right. And we had this come out yesterday. Not that this is really great, but SEC has been really, really good to crypto recently. It's just been overshadowed by all this selling from Wall Street. But this is huge. The SEC now declared that meme coins are not securities. So basically, hey, as long as you don't have utility on your meme, you're golden. They're more like collectibles. So now anyone has the authority to launch any meme coin. Doesn't mean it's a good idea, but hey, this is pretty big declaration. You don't have to be worried about being sued by the SEC anymore, which is crazy. But of course, if you rug and do something else malicious, that's a different story. But man, one after another. They also dropped their lawsuit against Consensus, the company behind MetaMask. Okay, they dropped that recently. Also, I mean, they're dropping every case one after another. Soon they will finally drop the case against Ripple, their last one, and maybe even Binance soon. Right? But hey, most of you guys are not fans of meme coins. Most of you guys are sick of the shenanigans, right? That's why you just stick with Bitcoin. And remember, there is a big Bitcoin conference coming up later this year. just in a few months, actually, in Vegas, Bitcoin 2025. I'll be there. And I know a lot of you guys are still very enthusiastic about Bitcoin. So if you're interested, come, come join, come listen to Sailor and others, and maybe even meet me in the process. And use my link in the description. All right, guys. I'll keep it nice and short. I know this is not my usual time. I had a late night yesterday, which is why I'm late today. But, better late than never. We had a really good recovery so far. We could continue this recovery. Let's see how today ends. If we fill that CME gap, then finally we don't have to worry about that anymore. Okay. And with our oversold levels, this is a great, great, great time to be loading up. In fact, now it's probably not as good as just a few hours ago when we were still in the 70s and low 80s. But even now, we're not at 100. So, greatest time as any. All right, guys, that's it. Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys later. Have a good one. Bye bye.